North Carolina Republican Congressman Madison Cawthorn, one of the most vocal proponents of Donald Trump's big lie about the 2020 election, lost his GOP primary last night despite Trump's endorsement. But Trump's minions are still moving full steam ahead with their plan for the next coup. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. You know, guys, politics is a rough and tumble business, and D.C. can be a cruel town. Just when you feel like you're making headway in Congress, you're unceremoniously forced out by a cruel and unforgiving system of cutthroats and backstabbers. And that's exactly what happened last night when one of our nation's most committed public servants, a camera-shy policy wonk who was laser-focused on serving the greater good, lost his bid for re-election. Oh, wait, I think I read that whole thing wrong. Oh, I read every word wrong. It was just Madison Cawthorn.
Incumbent Madison Cawthorn has lost the Republican nomination for U.S. House District 11 seat in North Carolina.
State Senator Chuck Edwards beat him with 33% of the vote. Cawthorn has officially conceded his seat.
Oh, Madison, you may be gone, but soon you'll be forgotten. At least now he'll have more time for his other job, starring as the, I don't know, bad boy villain in a CW drama. He looks like he should be next to a locker threatening to tell Pacey about Dawson's relationship with Joey. How can you do this, Madison? I thought we were friends. You know what they say, Dawson? Every rose has its Cawthorn. In this show, he plays himself. So Cawthorn lost the GOP primary in his district last night after a string of scandals, including accusations of insider trading, multiple traffic stops, and a series of controversial remarks like when he called Ukraine's president a thug. In fact, it was Republicans who waged a relentless campaign to take Cawthorn down. One GOP operative told the Daily Beast, quote, "It's definitely a hit job that I'm happy to be a party to. Most of the GOP universe has come around to align against this guy. You're seeing a full court state-based establishment pushback against him. Get this guy out, take him out." I will say it's a rare treat to watch Republicans tear each other apart because when Republicans decide to knife each other, they hold nothing back. Democrats just snipe at each other on cable news about who's responsible for their poll numbers. They're like the waspy Connecticut family that just passive-aggressively bickers at the dinner table and then goes to bed full of quiet resentment. Going from that to Republican infighting is like when you date someone whose family is Italian, you go over to their house for dinner and they're just chucking plates of spaghetti across the room, lunging at each other with salad forks because someone told Grandma Frank Sinatra was overrated. Then 10 minutes later, they're all hugging and talking about how important family is, and meanwhile, your Xanax hasn't even kicked in, and you're thinking, I think I maybe should have stayed with Abigail. Now, famously, the last straw for a lot of Republicans came when Cawthorn gave an interview claiming his GOP colleagues did drugs and invited him to orgies, or, as they were supposedly billed to him, sexual get-togethers.
The sexual perversion that goes on in Washington, I mean, being kind of a young guy in Washington, where the average age is probably 60 or 70, and I look at all these people, a lot of them that I've looked up to through my life. I've always paid attention to politics, guys that, then all of a sudden you get invited to, like, well, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get-together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Yeah. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then you watch them do, a key bump of cocaine right in front of you. And it's like, wow, this is wild.
No, normally I would have dismissed that all as ridiculous, except the GOP freaked out. Plus, there was that one time Chuck Grassley suspiciously gave a speech on the Senate floor with a bowl full of keys on his podium. You guys remember that? He was all like, that's why inflation is Joe Biden's fault. Now, everybody, close your eyes and pick a set of keys. And that's your special friend till sunrise. Now, Cawthorn did get some support from at least one corner of the GOP, Trumpland. Trump himself intervened at the last minute to reiterate his support for Cawthorn.
Former President Donald Trump endorsed the 26-year-old Cawthorn more than a year ago. But on the eve of the primary, Trump posted on his Truth Social platform, rehashing Cawthorn's background while adding, recently he made some foolish mistakes, which I don't believe he'll make again. Let's give Madison a second chance.
Let's give Madison a second chance sounds like something you'd hear at a sorority after a pledge barfs all over the rug. Okay, I know she drank an entire Bacca Franzia, but her dad knows the dean, and I think we should give Madison a second chance. But the big takeaway from Cawthorn's loss is that when the Republican establishment wants to push someone out, they are fully capable of doing it. They could have easily done the same thing with Trump, but they chose not to because they decided instead to collude with him regardless of how dangerous he is. Even now, they're continuing to follow his lead as he prepares for the next coup and continues spreading the big lie that the last election was stolen. He even claims he's writing a book about it, although even he admits it won't be good.
This is the greatest, this is the crime of the century. I'm actually writing a book about it called The Crime of the Century. I don't think you'll enjoy it. You'll be very depressed when you read it, but we want to have it down for historic reasons.
I love that despite his foray into politics, Trump remains at his core a terrible salesman. Is this why Trump's steaks didn't work out? Folks, I'm coming out with a line of steaks, and let me tell you right now, you're not gonna like them because these steaks are tough. It's like biting into a wallet. If I'm you, I do not go near those things. But I do agree that it would be historic in that it would be the first book ever written by someone who has never read one. I for real have an easier time picturing Donald Trump doing a standing backflip than I do him putting a bookmark between 2 pages to save his place. Will you look at that? I'm late for golf. Until the next time, March sisters. Trump tried virtually every avenue possible to overturn the election, and he's still trying in preparation for the next one. He tried to get the Supreme Court to overturn it, tried to shake down the Georgia Secretary of State, and even drafted an executive order to seize voting machines. His plan would have used the military, although I could just as easily see Trump asking Rudy to seize voting machines. Boss, I got one. It's filled with fraudulent votes for Abraham Lincoln. Rudy, that's a Coinstar. Oh, Rudy! You've done it again, you dope! Some in Trump's orbit were even pushing him to declare martial law, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who misspelled it as martial law, as in the name Marshall. You know, like Marshall Mathers. Oh my God, wait a second. Now that I think of it, the distance between the ellipse where Trump gave his insurrection speech and the Capitol where the insurrection occurred is exactly 8 miles. It's actually only 2 miles, sorry. It's just, sometimes you get so deep into a bit, you... Are we making the audience play Name That Tune? I can get this joke in half of a note. Okay, I don't... Guys, it's not gonna work, but we're gonna do it again. All right, so I do the 8 miles, and you guys were like, "Ooh, impressive." And then I come back. You clapped, you all did. You can't now. No, don't. And then I come back and I go, "Oh, it's actually only 2 miles. Sorry, sometimes you get so deep into a bit, you." Let's give Madison another chance. And yet, curiously, whenever they're confronted about their plans for martial law, Trump sycophants suddenly get very cagey. In a recent lawsuit, for example, Greene was asked repeatedly if she'd texted Meadows or brought up the idea of declaring martial law and claimed she couldn't remember.
In those meetings, you discussed with him your advocacy for the idea that there should be martial law declared in the United States.
No, I don't recall ever discussing that.
Well, are you saying it didn't happen, or are you saying you don't recall one way or the other?
I don't recall ever discussing that.
The question was whether, prior to the inauguration of Joe Biden, Ms. Greene, whether you ever advocated for martial law to be imposed in a conversation with the Chief of Staff of the then President of the United States, Mr. Trump.
I don't recall.
Did you ever advocate for martial law prior to the inauguration of Mr. Biden with any member of the White House staff that was part of the Trump administration?
I don't recall.
I feel like I might not recall if I advocated for, say, getting an order of ravioli for the table to share, but I definitely remember if I was pitching martial law. Oh, wait, no, now I remember this one time the waiter said they were out of ravioli, and then I said, well, then I'm calling in the military. And then there's MyPillow CEO, Mike Lindell. Sorry, but there is. Lindell, who sells pillows preloaded with nightmares, was photographed in the days before Trump left office walking into the White House with notes that said martial law on them. Correctly spelled, it should be noted. That's a real burn on Marjorie Taylor Greene when you lose the yelling bee to this guy. But when Lindell was confronted by a reporter, he claimed he had no idea what the reporter was talking about.
Who gave you the papers?
Who gave me the papers? That's none of your business. A bunch of lawyers did. I've never read them. Hold it. I've never read them. I went in there with evidence on January 15th. You guys are old news. You're regurgitating old news. No, January 15th, I went in there with 4 papers that shows Dominion and the election crime of the machines in China and attacking our country, cyber attack, all 50 states, over 12 million votes that Donald Trump won by 82 million to 68 million was the real count.
Who gave you the papers?
I just said a whole bunch of lawyers did. I've never read them. This is old news. You're regurgitating. You care about, why are you protect a company called Dominion and you attack a company called MyPillow? You're a traitor to our country. You're a disgusting traitor. Traitor.
Doesn't give me faith that you're going to find phony ballots when you can't even find someone to do a chant with you. Also, more importantly, let me see if I'm following you. Your claim is that a bunch of lawyers handed you a pile of documents and you took them to the President of the United States without reading them? You must have a hell of a time getting through the airport. Okay, sir, and did you pack these bags yourself? No, some guys jumped out of an SUV and gave them to me and sped off. Why? What's the problem? But Trump and Lindell and their gang of weirdos are not giving up. They want to follow through on the coup again, and they'll do it if they get the chance. In fact, Lindell, who got kicked off Twitter for spreading election lies, is so desperate to get his account reinstated that he has asked multiple times if anyone knows Elon Musk so Lindell can get in touch with him.
I'm going to do a shout out to Elon Musk. I would love to meet Elon Musk. I would want to show him all of the corruption that went on in the 2020 election with the voting machines. I have a shout out right now. If anybody knows Elon, you can, tell him I want to meet with them because I'm going to be reaching out to his people. I've been wanting to reach out. If Elon Musk, if you're watching, I want to reach out to Elon Musk. I'd like to sit down with Elon myself, one-on-one, and show him in a 15-minute little presentation I have and say, here's where we're at. This is what they did. Here is these. You flew to the moon or whatever, flew to outer space. Here's the cyber stuff.
Well, I guess that explains why Musk wants out of the Twitter deal. Excuse me, Mr. Musk, the MyPillow guy wants to show you a 15-minute presentation on election fraud. I'm out. I love this part the most.
You flew to the moon or whatever, flew to outer space.
What? He wants to meet with Musk, but doesn't even know what Musk does. Musk has a company that makes rockets. He didn't personally fly to the moon. That's just Lindell. He's just always a little off. And I love Tesla. Top 10 hair metal bands for me. Signs. Everywhere a sign blocking out the scenery. You know the song. Anyway, let me back on Twitter. I don't got no friends. And I live in a van down by the river. Switched it up. Cawthorn's loss proves that the GOP establishment, if it wanted to, could easily ostracize its most toxic members. They just choose not to. They've actively chosen to collude with Trump and his ilk, no matter how dangerous they are to democracy, because they think that's the path to power. Cawthorn just got a little too radioactive for them. Like the old saying goes, he flew too close to
the moon or whatever.
This has been a closer look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV/AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.